Most of us remember the first moment we realized nobody was coming to save us anymore. A new job, becoming a parent, losing someone you depended on. One day you're protected, the next people look to you to protect them. That feeling is older than cities, older than farming, older than history. Imagine you're 8 winters old. Nobody counts birthdays yet, but this morning is different. The men don't tell you to stay behind with the little ones. Instead, they place a spear in your hands. It's too big for you. The shaft is longer than you are tall. Your palms are already sweating. Nobody explains what this means. They don't have to. Every adult is silently asking one question. Are you still a child? You've watched other children leave at dawn and return at sunset, somehow different. Some stood straighter, invited closer to the fire. Others looked the same, but something invisible had shifted. No one mocked them. They simply never belonged the same way again. Now it's your turn. Your heart isn't racing because of the animal you haven't seen it yet. It's racing because you already understand. This isn't really a hunt. It's the moment your whole future in this group gets decided. Here's the part that should stop you cold. When scientists studied how ancient humans actually raised their children, they found something that didn't fit the caveman stereotype. These groups protected their children with a tenderness that looks almost modern, carrying them, healing them, burying them with heartbreaking gentleness. So why would loving parents hand an 8-year-old a spear and walk them towards something that bleeds? The answer flips the whole story. Most people assume the first kill was about food that starving groups needed every hand hunting. That's wrong. A child that age was a terrible hunter. Weak arms, no timing, no patience. If it were about calories, sending a small child to hunt was a great way to lose a kid you'd spent 8 years keeping alive. The first kill was never about meat. It was the moment a child crossed a line the whole group could see. On one side, you were fed because you might someday be useful. On the other, you were useful now. A group living this close to starvation couldn't carry passengers forever. The spear wasn't a tool, it was a door. Picture the hunt. The men chose an animal that couldn't kill you back, then did nearly all the real work tracking, closing distance, cornering it before stepping back and leaving the final blow to you. It was never a fair fight. The test wasn't whether you could hunt. It was whether, when the moment came, you could override every instinct screaming that this was wrong. Somewhere back at camp, your mother let you go. She knew the sound of your cry in the dark, and still, she didn't stop this. That wasn't coldness in a world with no medicine and no guarantees. Letting your child face the first kill was one of the deepest acts of love left to give. A child who never crossed that line stayed soft, and soft didn't survive. The hunter beside you, father, uncle, mentor, is being judged too. He chose this animal, spent his mornings training you. If you freeze, that's partly on him. His fear for you steadies your arm more than fear of the animal does. The bones back this up. Researchers studying ancient burial sites kept finding children buried with the full weapons and honors of grown hunters' bodies that hadn't finished growing, laid to rest as though they had. That doesn't happen by accident. And it wasn't one strange tribe's custom sites separated by thousands of miles and years with no contact between them show the same pattern. Diet shifts recorded in children's teeth, worn joints from adult labor taken on too young, and children buried as hunters. When groups who never met independently invent the same ritual, it isn't culture, it's a solution. The pressure was baked into survival itself. So what happened to the ones who couldn't cross the line? Your arm is up. The animal is close enough to touch. Plenty of children froze here, hands shaking, spear trembling, never falling. That didn't mean the child was bad, only not ready. And in a world with no safety net, readiness was almost everything. A frozen child forced a quiet, wordless decision. Keep feeding someone who might never carry their weight, or begin treating them differently. Nobody announced it. Everyone simply felt it. Say you don't freeze. Your arm comes down. The animal stops being warm and breathing, and the world tilts and never fully tilts back. Nobody warns you about the silence after not pride, but something closer to grief. The child who never did this is gone. Then the group marks it. Ceremony, blood, words spoken over you, meat shared out wasn't decoration. It gave the horror a shape so it wouldn't quietly crack you from the inside. The ritual protected the child's mind, which means the group understood exactly how heavy this moment was. Why put a child through it at all? In a world with no laws, no police, no stored wealth, survival depended on one thing: whether every member could be relied on to act when it mattered, instead of freezing and praying someone else would. The first kill revealed or built that trait. You weren't thrown to the wolves. You were forged, on purpose, by people who loved you too much to let you stay soft. There's a second layer few notice. The group watched not just whether you crossed the line, but how. A child who struck and couldn't stop, whose face showed hunger instead of reluctance, was a warning, not a promising hunter. A tiny group with no way to remove a dangerous member couldn't afford someone who felt nothing taking a life. What they wanted was fear plus control, feeling the full horror, refusing to enjoy it, doing it anyway, and stopping the instant it was done. That night, for the first time, you're not being fed, you're feeding. The meat moving hand to hand exists because of what you did. You can't have words for what that does to an 8-year-old, but it lands somewhere permanent, and you'll spend your life chasing that feeling of having given instead of taken. The next day, camp treats you differently. In 100 small, unspoken ways, who hands you food, where you sit. And the younger children watch you now, the way you once watched the ones who'd already crossed over, with the same unspoken question, will that be me? You've become the next test for the children coming up behind you. Then come the nights. You keep seeing the eye, that flash of something that seemed to watch you back. You wonder if something's wrong with you, since everyone else at the fire seems fine. What you don't know is that every hunter there had the same haunted nights and simply never spoke of them. Learning to carry it quietly, alone, and rise the next morning anyway, that's part of the lesson too. Slowly, the horror becomes something you can live beside. Not forgotten, just carried. This is the thing that reaches all the way into you now. The same tender people who nursed you through fevers were the ones who pressed the spear into your hand, because tenderness and hardness were never opposites in that world. They were the same lesson, taught from two sides of one hand. And notice what this means about fear itself. The first kill never asked the child to stop being afraid. A fearless child was the dangerous one. It asked something harder. Feel the fear completely and move anyway. That isn't the absence of the scream. It's mastery over it. So what actually happened when a prehistoric child made their first kill? They stopped being a child not because of the killing itself, but because they learned that survival would ask them to feel real fear and act anyway, so the people they loved could keep breathing. The animal was never the point. The child was. And the strangest part, it never left us. That instinct to steel yourself, to override the urge to freeze, to do the frightening, necessary thing because people are depending on you. You still feel a shadow of it every time life asks more than you feel ready to give. The child in the wet grass with a spear too big for their hands isn't a stranger from 100,000 years ago. That fear is older than farming, older than cities, older than every word we've ever written down, and it's still in you.